what I'm saying?
I fear the battle's just begun. Though we're here, someday we will be.
So those were the sounds of C. He's Australian born from Melbourne but lives in Montreal. And great hip-hop artist. I recorded an interview with him today. Let's get into part one. Okay, so here we are back on Strand of the Australian Canadian Music Show, and the second interview today, another Australian expert in the East. Very good, thank you.
Good, mate.
Craig, whose stage name is C, spelled C-E-E. Now, he's a hip-hop artist. And Craig, I must say you are the very first Aussie hip-hop artist that I've chatted to who's made the long trip over here to live and to start a career. So it's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on, my friend.
Not
it's
a problem.
A very cool idea as well, having the Aussie crazy.
It's a pleasure. Thanks. Wow, so you're way over there in the East. So now you're an Aussie hip-hop artist, and familiar folks of this show should be familiar with the Hilltop Hoods, who I've interviewed a couple of times here. Now, as far as yourself, how did you get into the hip-hop scene? What was it like in Melbourne when you were starting up?
It was pretty good. I guess I'm sort of a bit older. I'm sort of in my early 30s, so I started in the early 2000s. So probably then no one was messing with you. So we were on one side, sort of we had the more international North American kind of sound, whereas the other guys were these real, more underground and real local sort of sound. That didn't too much into the politics, but so we started early then in the scene, and I lived in Toronto in 2004, so when I came back, I found that a lot of that had slowly started to disappear. It's still around a bit, but people are just sort of all working together, and it sort of grew a lot from there.
Oh, interesting.
In Melbourne, yeah, it's a strange beast out there.
Okay. Of course, Melbourne being one of the world's great musical cities, I'm sure you would agree. I mean, I'm more familiar with the rock and roll, and I'm trying to educate myself about hip-hop, but how does hip-hop fare compared to the more Aussie pub rock? I mean, there's obviously enough of a scene, there's enough of a thriving scene in a big city like Melbourne.
Oh yeah, definitely. In comparison in Australia, you can't even compare hip-hop to rock, though it appears though since I've been away the last 3 years, I've been keeping a close eye on everything that happens back there, and I do notice that it looks like it's picked up a lot. I've had a bunch of friends that I came up with in the scene now who are very successful at home, extremely successful. So it definitely is getting a lot bigger. A lot of kids are into it, and they're doing just hip-hop festivals. A lot of rappers are playing alongside those same rock acts. I mean, not quite Aussie pub rock, but they're playing a lot at these, Big Day Out and all those other Splendor in the Grass and all those huge festivals at home alongside the other ones, and they're getting just as many people coming to see them. So I think it's really starting to permeate the culture. There's still quite a lot of misunderstanding about what hip-hop is, what the culture is about within Australia, which is what I grew up with. As it's become more a part of the popular culture, in general Western sort of culture, people are understanding it more, and therefore it's been more accepted. So that's really cool to see.
Absolutely, and really at this point in time, I'd say you're one of the pioneers still. It's still early days if you think about musical history. So
in comparison, yes, I guess we've been doing it for quite some time. We haven't made, I don't know if I'd quite say that, because we haven't had the success I would have that usually comes with being a pioneer, but we have been doing it for quite some time, and through the ups and downs, and hopefully it'll pan out nicely.
And so your project before you started your solo work under the name C, the Movement Fam?
So the Movement Fam is the crew, which is my brother and I, my brother Notion and myself. So he lives in Toronto and I'm here in Montreal.
Yeah.
So that's us. So that's still existing. I was in a group. I've sort of always been in groups. I was just a singer. The group was called C and Becca. We did 3 mixtapes and an album together, and we were signed to a small label in the States. And prior to that, I was in another group before that. So the Movement Fam still is existing. That's sort of what we put, like a crew, even though it's very small, just my brother and I, but it's sort of the name that the Movement Fam presents stuff. That's how we sort of feel our collective or whatever. So,
I've got you. Yeah. And so let's talk about how you got to Canada. What was the moment in time when you made the big move? How did that all come about?
Great question. I can specifically remember the exact moment that when I decided to move here. So when I was 22, I was a kid, and I moved to Toronto in 2004 to do the working holiday program. And it was my first time. I never left Australia, and I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's move. And it was the best experience of my life. I didn't want to come back, but the visa ended and came back, and I'd always thought about it, dream about it all the time, about having really vivid dreams about living in Canada. So in 2008, Becca, my brother, and I, we went back to Canada and New Zealand on like a radio networking tour just to connect with a bunch of people. And as soon as I was flying in from New York to Toronto, and as soon as I flew over to Sydney and saw it, I had to learn, I'm like, I have to live here. So I just knew straight away. So as soon as we did that, I got to my friend's house where we were staying, and I looked up the working holiday visa, and they changed the regulations for Australians. So you, instead of being once in a lifetime for 1 year, it's now for 2 years, and it was rolling until you're 31. So we took a couple of years, planned it, and 4 of us moved over. 2 went home, but my brother and I are still here.
Yeah, it's really quite amazing. And off air a bit about the real challenges in doing that. I've done the same thing, and it's not easy. And you have odds stacked against you in some way, starting out in big city. But I mean, I've seen the benefit of persistence, and you too, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. It's been by far the most rewarding, yet the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life, and I'm still dealing with it. I actually applied for immigration last week, so fingers crossed that works. After many lawyers have said, no, go home, marry someone, get a job, sponsor you, but I do qualify under the Australian thing, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
There's no Aussies in Montreal, there's hardly any Aussies in Montreal. Hopefully they're like, cool, so off you go.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it. So I took it in high school, but when we moved here, my girl was like, go. For full-time 25 hours a week intensive French course. So we did 18 weeks in total, and I can't, I can speak French, I can understand most stuff. I'm a bit slow and a bit nervous when I do speak it, particularly because they speak so fast, they have the Quebecois accent. So it's a little like I can't work in any retail, for example, service because I can't speak quick enough. And but yeah, that's also on top of not being legal to work, and the study visa and all that stuff. I had on top of that the French aspect, and that's why me in Montreal has been extra difficult.
Yeah.
At the same token, it's a smaller city than Toronto, so it's sort of like you can be a bigger fish in a smaller pond a lot quicker than you can, and it's awesome here that it's legal to drink in the Toronto's like little New York, and everyone's going crazy trying to compete with each other. Here everyone's chilling, so if you're doing something they support you. And we've found that so on top of the difficulties with language and such, there's also the flip side. So I think Montreal is definitely a really, really great city for that.
Yeah, and I would think too, I mean, probably made that good choice that way too.
Yes, sir. 100% agreed. Even though it's sort of more like Sydney, a bit bigger and quicker, where here is definitely more artistic, a lot of bands within here, and they got more booze, different vibe. But yeah, very good point.
Okay, and your brother is in Toronto, and how often do you guys get together and collaborate and perform these days?
Great question. Up until I hadn't seen him since Christmas, and I went back a couple of weeks ago. But now we just sort of booked it. We're sort of calling it our summer tour. So we've got 4 shows locked in now. We're waiting on another 6. So he's coming here next Friday. We have a show. And then, a couple of weeks after that, we had one in Toronto, and then back here again, and then back in Montreal. So, we have a lot, and it's cool. The internet changes everything, so we can just collaborate. I can record. I have a studio. He has a studio, so I record. I send him the Pro Tools session. He does his thing. He mixes it. So you don't have to be in the same city to be able to do it. And for him to sort of establish, to keep our presence there, and for me to create it here from scratch, we need nobody coming here. So sort of build a real
and yet it's still close enough to physically if you have.
Oh yeah, 5 hours in the car.
Yeah,
we just rent a car, drive down, it's no problem at all. It's really, really close.
Yeah, very different world to out here, where Vancouver's got a fascinating music scene, but it's just, as far as touring goes, it's always a challenge for bands to get any further than Calgary, So
definitely. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Out east, I guess there's more cities concentrated over here.
Yeah.
Sort of build. Yeah, totally.
That's right. And so how have you found, being an Aussie hip-hop artist right where you are, how have you found people have responded? Because, I mean, you're different to the norm, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's true. They respond really well. When you hear the music, because the idea is that you don't, unless you listen to the content, you don't really know that I'm Australian so much so. Like, you can tell that something's a bit different, but they can't really tell, so it's not this complete like Hilltop Hoods type of like sound like I'm from Adelaide type of accent in my song, which you'll hear when you say them shortly. So I find that people are really interested in it and more, wow, like they think it's this crazy exotic place, and I find that people are, I guess it makes them a little more curious about it, and a little more interested. So a lot of blogs, when we send out our press releases with our music, a lot of blogs say Canadian MCs, Sea and Ocean, so we don't even bother correcting them. Because they're still giving us the shout. So I thought it would be our big differentiating factor, and still is, but at the same time we're not pushing it as hard as we were because of the number of like sort of press that has got it wrong. So we're like, oh, maybe they don't really care that much. But when they need us, people are more interested. Like, oh wow, what are you doing here? What's the story? Like, it's helped. It piques that interest. It separates us from just another Canadian MC.
Absolutely, yeah. And what can you tell us about the couple of tracks that you forwarded me to play today? Prom Night?
A track produced by my mate Flames Joel, the producer out of the UK. I think he's just around London. So he hit me with that song. It was for his EP, which I misread the email and I didn't realize the EP theme was sex, and I didn't write it about sex. So it was like, oh, it doesn't really fit. So he's like, all right, let's release it. So we put that one out. We shot a video in winter, so there was like 3 feet of immigration. Like, why did I come to this experience when they come to very different? So people have said that I get a lot of people saying they relate to that, which is pretty cool.
So that's the Prom Night song.
Yeah. The second one?
What's the second?
So the second one's called like #road tripping. So my homeboy Ilvibe out of Toronto, he's an MC, he's a video director. We've been talking for years via tag weeks ago to Toronto last time. And we thought, yeah, let's just do a track, whatever. So I'm in town, he's like, cool. And then he was like, hey, let's shoot a video for it. It was 24 hours, right? Record a song and shoot a video in 24 hours. So we went to my brother's house. We stayed there all night drinking and recorded the song. And the next day, we went out, shot the video, and then Vibe was like, he was really excited about it. He was like, yo, we should do an EP. I'm like, all right. So we released it's going to be an ongoing collaborative EP called #Life. So sort of focusing on social media, relatable stuff, which is what all three of us make. So we just had a really good connection. So we're going to sort of put out, we release sort of in 3 consecutive weeks. So cover, audio, and then video. So we're going to be doing that for the rest of the year. I'm not sure how many songs. We'll just keep going until we feel like stopping. But yeah, it's just a cool little different project that kind of came out of nowhere, and it's a nice little summer anthem. So called Road Trip, and we cruised around Toronto, went to the Bluffs, and shot a cool video.
Great. Well, I'll definitely put that one up on the show blog today.
Beautiful.
It's perfect for summer, yeah. So that was Road Trippin' by C. He is a Montreal-based hip-hop artist. We're speaking with him. This is the second great interview with an Australian expat musician. And just before you go, Craig, too, I know there's another little story you had to tell us about. You're involved with hip-hop karaoke?
Yes, sir. So there's a event not only in Montreal, but it's in like 20 or 30 cities around the world called Hip Hop Karaoke. Basically, it's unlike any other karaoke. When you walk in, it's like a proper venue with stage and lights and smoke machine and an MC and a DJ, and you pre-sign up and you perform a song with no lyrics on the screen. It's sort of like a real rap show, just hip hop covers, right? So I worked in the Apple Store in Toronto, the biggest one in the world, the busiest one in the country, sorry, the Eaton Centre, and everyone gets talking to me because I talk funny. So I met a lady, and we got talking, and she was, I told her I was moving to Montreal, and she was like, oh, my daughter's there, and she runs this, oh, you do hip-hop? Okay, like, she runs hip-hop karaoke, and she's moving to San Francisco, so maybe before she leaves, she can help you out. So she put me in touch with her via email. Her name was Brittany, so I got in touch with Brittany, and Brittany actually originally, she's from Toronto, but she lived in Vancouver, and she was a regular at the hip-hop karaoke event there, which we are sort of partners with and we support each other. And it's a fantastic event I'm out there. So Brittany started it in Montreal with her boyfriend and a gentleman by the name of Morgan, who's now my business partner. He's based out of New York, but all three of them were leaving. So she's like, hey, we're looking for someone to take over it. So we timed our apartment hunting trip to Montreal with their final hip-hop karaoke event. We checked it out. We were like, wow, we want to get involved. A few months later when they'd all left, we Skyped with Morgan and they okayed it all. And now we have a team of 7 of us in Montreal running the event. And it's been a really interesting learning curve. I'd run events in Australia before, and I threw a bunch in Toronto with my music, and it all went pretty well, but not this. So it's been cool, and it's got to the point now where in July where we have an event in conjunction or as a part of the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival schedule, which I found out recently is the biggest comedy festival in the world. So we are extremely excited about that. They announced it, I think, last week or the week before. It's hosted by Hannibal Buress, who's apparently a big deal, and really excited. It's great, and this has helped us, particularly me with my music. It's helped me get in touch with a lot of people in the scene. It's given me credibility already, so it's really given us a huge leg up in this city to meeting the right people and learning the ins and outs of event promotion very quickly. That's been great.
That's really fascinating, and because it is in multiple cities too, listeners could pop down to somewhere in Vancouver and go to Hip Hop Hip Hop Karaoke too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Vancouver one apparently is always crazy. They're really, really good. I definitely want to check that out. But all of them, the good thing, it started in New York, and most of the ones that pop up actually get the blessing of the original guys who started the one in New York. So it's sort of like, even though they don't have to, it's like, hey, do you want to be in Vancouver, is that okay? And they're like, yep, no worries. And so that's actually really cool. People really respect it, and the event just keep growing. Actually, I thought it's really blowing up here. Like, it's getting bigger and bigger every week. We're getting more media attention. Like, we work it really, really hard. It's not just something we just run it every month. Like, there's 7 of us working all the time. Social media, we've got a media department, we're approaching sponsorships. Like, it's pretty serious, and it's working really, really well. It's been probably one of the best things I've done since I've been in Canada.
Wow, that really is fascinating. And geez, I'll tell some of my hip-hop loving friends here in the city about that. Yeah. You
should definitely come check it out, even as a particularly not necessarily a hip hop fan. You don't really have to love hip hop to be able to enjoy the event. Karaoke, people are funny as well, but at the same time, it's just enter guys. Like, I was like, I'm not expecting this to be any good at all. It's genuinely really, really cool, and you have some people put in so much effort to the performances, dressing up and costumes, and they're learning all these languages, and now we're having like synchronized, like full-on choreographed dancing and pole dances and like dance crews is actually getting pretty crazy. So it's a really good time.
Awesome.
So definitely, if you get a chance, check it out.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Thanks so much for that little story, Craig, and for your time this afternoon. It's been great chatting all the way from Montreal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we'll be in touch, and listeners, you can look forward to hearing an interview with Notion, C's brother, in the coming weeks too.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it, man.